The sensory issue is huge these days. And sometimes people don't realize they have sensory issues. They just have this anxiety. I have a client I was working with, a young girl, going into that sacred space, walking in there and first feeling, I had her bring in her blanket every time she came in for a session, or anything that was a squeezy toy, because it is a weird experience. And I'm telling you what, this kid has done amazing. Everybody needs to kind of know what Reiki is and what it's not. It's not woo-woo, and it's not dangerous, and it's not any religion. It's basically, it's a massage for your soul. When I'm calling in the energy of Reiki, it channels through my hand. So I'm literally just hovering over that person's body from the head, crown chakra, all the way down to the root chakra, allowing that toxic energy that sits there like a snowball and just builds up in that body. What we're doing is we're breaking the debris down.
Welcome to the Sleeping Lotus Podcast, the sacred space where we explore the human spirit's true potential and awaken to our soul remembrance one petal at a time. Whether you're wide awake, half asleep, or somewhere in between, this is a circle where nothing is too mystical, too messy, or too much. Each week, we'll gather around the stories that shaped us, the breakdowns and the breakthroughs that opened us up to divine moments that helped us remember who we really are. We'll be joined by guests who've lived through the darkness and found the sacred woven within it. This isn't just a podcast. It's a remembering, a return, a place to rest and awaken. So pour some tea, light a candle, or just breathe with us. Let the lotus within you open in its own time, in its own way. So thank you for tuning in, and let's begin. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to another episode of the Sleeping Lotus Podcast. I'm Laura Jean.
And I'm Stephanie.
And today our guest is Michele Marziano. She is the founder of the Balanced Mind, Body and Spirit, Reiki, and Integrative Wellness. She also runs an empowered women's group named the Empowered Women's Journey and hosts a Talk Tuesdays live on Facebook every week at 8 p.m. Hello, Michele.
Hello.
Hi, Michele.
How are you? Oh, we're grateful to have you.
This is exciting.
Grateful. Yes. We've been planning here for now, I think 2 weeks about or so.
Probably.
since we last spoke. So you have quite a few things going on here that we're going to dive into today.
Perfect.
And what I tend to always usually ask our guests in the beginning is sort of like, how did this all come about? How did you become interested in owning your own studio and then, working further into these different healing modalities?
Well, that's a long story, but I'll give it to you in a short nutshell. I've always been in business. I've always grown up in the business field, my father. So I've got that business sense. I'm not good for working for somebody. So I've always created these little jobs. I was a caterer. I had a consignment shop. I had a dry salt therapy business a couple of years ago. I've always kind of been in that link. And all of the years that I've been doing these things, I've always been taking classes, whether it's Reiki, whether it's hypnosis, whether it's neurolinguistic programming, whether it's just, self work for myself. And I feel like I always say that this is really about building your spiritual toolbox. So you don't know really where you're going to be, 20 years ago to where I am now. But everything that I've learned over the years through the business has created me to say, there's a need basically for people who need an outlet, right? So when I was doing Reiki, I actually wasn't even doing it full time. I was running a business. I was doing all that kind of stuff, but I would do it on the part time. Like I would just do a little bit here and there. Opened up the salt therapy business, and then closed that. COVID hit. All of that fun stuff happened, and people started to find me again for Reiki. And I thought, this is really weird because this is not really what I'm resonating with. Spirit wanted me to move forward on something, so I didn't fight it. And then I heard that I needed to open up a new place, get into a new business, find a space. And I thought, they must be crazy. literally just close a business, right? So I did it. I put 2 feet forward and I just put it out there. Almost 5 years now, I will be in my studio in King. I call it studio, but it's not really a studio. It's our wellness wellness center, whatever you want to call it. But almost 5 years. And so my passion by seeing the changes and all of the people coming in for Reiki and the transitions and the growth that they've done just from coming in for a Reiki session has really built upon. And that's how I feel like everything else has grown. That's the women's group. That's the hypnotherapy. That's, doing talk classes or classes and then doing my talk therapy and doing the talks on Tuesdays. So it's a passion. And I just think that everything just started to build because I trusted what my soul's journey is.
Now, was that trust always there, say, from like a younger age, or was it more something that developed over time?
No.
I was
I
gonna
was
say
a
it's
very
not.
insecure woman, very insecure and not really believing in who I was. And I think all the years of me working on myself, going through the changes in my life, and building that up, I had to surrender. And I think that's a big thing I tell a lot of people is we're trying to build too many things. You're trying to make things happen and they don't always happen the way you want. And then people get really frustrated. The part of trusting this process is really surrendering and putting your faith in something that you can't see. And I do tell people a lot of times it's like the faith of a mustard seed, And so seriously, I had no clue what was going to happen, but I took a shot. I took a shot. They lined me up with the right people. And I still have to use this faith and this trust to say, where is my next chapter in my journey? Reiki was my foundation that created. They wanted me in King of Prussia. I trust that. And it's not an easy thing for
No,
anybody.
no.
But when you feel it in your heart and you feel it in your stomach and you know it's the right thing, I think that's where your faith and trust comes from.
Mhm.
Yeah, that trust certainly is not easy. It's definitely taking me decades to, trust more of myself, and I'm still growing and learning every single day, no matter how many times I think a journey is at its end. And I can guess that you ladies can sort of agree as well, like you're still learning through your journeys as well. Um, What would you say was like that first moment where you felt like, okay, integrative, holistic health is a business that I need to do?
Well, that's a loaded question. I don't know. I
And that's
honestly,
okay.
I don't know. I think because I've always had that structure of business, and foundation of that, I trust it that if I hadn't, and I'm a Gemini, so I have these creative ideas, right? And everybody thinks my family thinks I'm crazy. Like you've
Mhm.
closed that business, you did this, you did that. I think moving in that whole direction was just the more I saw how people were really touched and healed through
Mm,
Reiki, the transformation, it literally just grew. I don't know how. It just
Mhm.
grew.
Mhm.
And it was like the insights or spirit saying, okay, let's move this way. And I'm like, are you sure we're going to do that? I don't know. And then once we layered it the right, or I layered it the right way, I say that my journey, my soul's journey, is to help your soul's journey move on.
Mhm.
And I guess it's almost like baking, like you're building something up,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And there's more to come. Like I know there's
Right.
more to come.
sure.
Does
Yeah,
that?
and they're and while you're prepping with all the ingredients, the kitchen's a hot mess.
Mhm.
You have no idea what beautiful dessert is going to come of this, because all you're seeing is the mess around you and the cleanup, and you didn't even think that was going to happen. All your vision was just of the beautiful result, of what's going on. So faith is so important. I mean, I love that you learn to trust enough to listen to that intuition, to that inner voice. And this is where it brought you, because I do say that we're all in this together, and everything that each of us do adds to the collective, to the higher consciousness of everyone, because everyone is affected by it, whether they know it or not. But it is not an easy task.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And that's where I think a lot of people have to have that faith. And that's a big thing I talk about on Tuesdays on my talk. Tuesday is how the universal changes are happening. People tell me I've got these gifts, and for me, I'm just me. And when things come out and I hear my own voice or I replay my own videos, I'm like, where did that come from? But I know that the passion and the love and the caring that I have in my heart, and knowing that spirits literally just sometimes it just comes out. And
Mhm.
I'll literally say on Talk Tuesday, I'm like, oh, I don't know where that came from. But somebody on there that night needed to hear that message.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I'll keep
Yeah.
continuing to do what I do. And I say I work for spirit, really. And I always have daily conversations. Sometimes I say, why would you have me do that? I'm not quite sure what you're doing. But yes, you got to feel it here. You got to feel it in your
Hmm.
heart.
And you have
Yeah.
to believe in yourself too,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to trust, and you have to let go, and you have
Yep.
to have faith, and
Yep.
you have to step way outside your comfort zone. And
Totally.
sometimes you're teetering on the edge, and your guides are just waiting for you to take flight. But, we're intimidated, there's fear there. We're working through all these emotions ourselves, and we're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, but it's just not happening as fast as we think it should. So, we sometimes just have to walk away from it, and maybe, sadly, people don't take advantage of those opportunities there, that are very personally fulfilling. And I think that we need more people talking about this. And just as a little reminder that, it's not easy. We know, because we've been there, and you are going to have the dark nights of the soul, but you can't give up, because if it's a calling, every cell in your body knows it's there's no doubt whatsoever. And while everyone else around you is looking at you like you've lost your mind, and you do question yourself at times. I mean, there was nights I ended up, crying myself to sleep.
Yeah.
It can be a bit lonely at times too, while you're navigating, this new journey. But I think you just have to, for your own sake and for your own abilities, you have to allow yourself to step into that space, and just see where God takes you, where the universe guides you.
I totally agree.
And I think too, working with people, no matter what kind of business you're in, but I feel like the integrative health space or the spiritual space can be sort of relatable to working in the health field. And Stephanie, you've worked in the health field. It's a place where people will come to you and put their burdens in your lap because they're hurting and
Mm-hmm.
they're searching for something to heal them that they haven't been able to find anywhere else,
Mm-hmm.
or they're searching for some sort of understanding about themselves that they can't get anywhere else. And
Yeah.
so you both really hold hold this immense amount of energy for people to grow, to explore whatever it is their soul is searching for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this isn't a
Yeah.
one size fits all. I mean, thank goodness, all these modalities that are available, and we have new medicines coming out and new research, and hopefully there'll be some significant changes in the health field. Um, But in the meantime, we can't neglect the fact that we also have a spirit body that needs to be tended to. And
Yeah.
we're not taught about that. It's just not something, and I hope that changes too one day. But right now, I think those that are realizing or having that little alarm clock go off, wait a minute, there's something more. It's within my reach, but I just don't know what it is. I don't know where to go. I'm not even sure if I know what's going on with myself right now. And you start going through these changes and you're questioning everything because it's not normal. Whatever normal is. So they begin this journey, and they're seeking out. I mean, I can tell stories back in the day, clients reaching out to me, the craziest ways they found me. I was interviewed for a magazine, and she just happened to be at a doctor's appointment, and there's the magazine on the table, and she happened to open it up, and there I was, and there was my interview, and she found me after that. And next thing I know, she's sitting in my living room during our spiritual development classes. And you never know, you just don't know. So I think the more that it's almost our duty, our responsibility, that if we do have this knowledge and we have put the time and effort into exploring as much as we can in our own journey, and this is what we've learned, why don't we offer this to other people? So maybe we are the pioneers in this field. Maybe this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing. And now that we've had all these years of experience, and we're still growing together, and we're still discovering, and we get excited and we want to share. That's why I wanted to do this podcast, is to have that space for people, to share their stories and share what they've learned along the way, because I know there's so many more people waking up too, right, and just not sure of the direction to go.
Totally true. See it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should really have an episode one time, and talk about some of the stories.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Yes, I get some people in, and when they tell me their story or what brought them to Reiki, which is really why most people come in, they're searching the web, they're going through something in their life they can't figure out. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
So they start looking for outlets. And they go, oh, Reiki. And that's my first question. What brought you to Reiki when they come in? And let me just, while I'm on that subject, because for some people, they don't really know what Reiki is.
Sure.
Yes, thank you, Spirit. See, they're kicking my ass and saying, do this. Sorry, I said that. But so for so many people, the concept of what Reiki is very hard to fathom or to understand. It is an energy that you can't see in the visual eye, right? So when the person comes in and they're saying, I just feel like I'm lost. I feel like I'm out of balance. I feel like I'm out of sorts. I can't focus. I'm not sleeping well. I've got all this stress coming in, So I take a little, few minutes beforehand, tell me a little bit what's going on. I ask them their zodiac sign. It helps me kind of get where their personality comes from. And intuitively, I just hear Spirit tell me little things. So I kind of note that down. So for those that are not familiar with what the energy of Reiki is, I tell people in a nutshell, basically, it's a massage for your soul. Very hard to explain anything else. You are fully clothed. People go, how are you fully clothed? I don't understand that. Because energy, because I'm certified and I'm attuned, what we call attuned to the higher vibrational frequencies. When I'm calling in the energy of Reiki, it channels through my hand. So I'm literally just hovering over that person's body from the head, the crown chakra, all the way down to the root chakra, allowing that toxic energy that sits there like a snowball and just builds up in that body. What we're doing is we're breaking the debris down. If you can see it in a visual manner and you're seeing that snowball and you're kind of, you're like this and you got the heat of that snowball starts to break down, right? That's a great visualization. Is it a one-time shot deal when you come in for Reiki? Absolutely not. It's like any modality. I tell people if you go for a chiropractor, you're going for acupuncture, you're going for yoga, whatever it is you're going in for, this is part of your healing modality. You're including Reiki in this. So that in itself kind of helps people to understand. And I'm always telling them the what can actually happen, what you might feel, but realistically, it is the energy that's channeled to clear out what we call the energy centers, which are your chakras, to allow that body to be less tense, to allow that body to be it. People will leave and say, "Oh my God, I feel like a weight is off my shoulders." I can see when they come in, their coloring is different. They'll come in like this. Yeah, and I got this. Yeah, and I'm going through that. And then after we get done, they're like, "Oh, and I did this, and I'm going to go out and I'm going to get coffee." And I'm like, "Oh my God, look at how fast your energy just
Mm-hmm.
changed." I have over 450 clients, which is a lot of people in
Mm-hmm.
the almost 5 years. Now, do they all come at one time? No, the people want to try and experience it, but you know, that's that's just something that helps them to alleviate some of that stress, not to be distracted for what you guys, but I feel like everybody needs to kind of know what Reiki is and what it's not. It's not woo woo and it's not dangerous and it's not any religion. It's not any of that. It's the energetic energies of, I say, Mother Earth that is just channeling through me to you so that you feel more relaxed when you leave.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I'm familiar with, I think there's a couple different kinds, but I believe it originated in Japan. Am I correct?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So
So the original founder is Dr. Mikao Yusui. He is it. There's some lineages that go off on that, but when we teach certifications at our place, it is your traditional Yusui level certifications. You need that foundation. But yes, there is a few, and I'm actually certified in Holy Fire, Karuna, Shambhala, and Master level in Yusui.
mm,
But that's for a whole nother talk because that's a lot to go into
I
to
was,
understand the different lineages and the different energies that Reiki can bring forward.
yeah, and I'm familiar with the Shambhala name, so it might be a little in depth for people that might not quite have come across it
Yeah,
yet, but it's something that I definitely want to dive down another time because
for
we'll
sure.
definitely have you back on if you would love to. Um, so so what have you seen, for example, if maybe people work better with examples out there? What kind of, say, like physical ailment have you seen get better? What kind of maybe like mental health um, ailment has calmed down from Reiki? Like, would you say it would be beneficial for someone that has anxiety?
Absolutely. Anybody who has anxiety, panic, issues, anybody who has stored trauma from any kind of abuse, that sits in that sacral chakra. Again, we could go on to this forever, but
Mm-hmm.
people need to understand where these traumas store in the body and why you have physical things that happen. I have I offer Reiki for cancer patients, those that are either in remission, those that are actively on chemo, or have just been diagnosed. It helps to ease their nausea. It helps to ease the anxiety. It helps them to sleep better. On a brief note, I am a widow. My husband passed of pancreatic cancer 12 years ago.
Mm.
And during his 6 months, his from the time he was diagnosed till when he passed, we had I had a friend, Leanda, who was a Reiki master as well. They offered it through hospice, and she came in. So he had Reiki 3 times. It's a great way. Reiki is great for the soul that's transitioning. It's great for anybody who's six. My granddaughter is 12. She had her first experience with it 2 weeks ago. She was like totally amazed. Out of the mouths of babes, I always say, right? If you could get a kid to express how their experience was after a Reiki session, that is your telltale truth because they're not faking anything.
Hmm.
So Reiki is really good for everything. They are offering it in the hospitals now. Nurses are being trained in this and certified. It is well known through hospice, through cancer, through surgeries before and after. If it does anything, it helps to alleviate. I can't really express how or explain how Reiki helps to alleviate the aches and the pains, things like that. But when I have clients that come in and, they leave, I text them. I always text my clients the next day, my first time clients. And they are like, holy cow, I feel like great. My foot's not bothering me. My back now, will it ease up? Yes. I mean, come back a little bit. You've got to nurture yourself. You have to
Mm-hmm.
drink lots of water, watch what you're eating, take those salt baths, nurturing, whether it's yoga, whether you're going out, whether you're going to exercise. This is part of what I always tell them. This is a whole modality. This is a whole life change healing. I'm telling you
Mhm.
what, if you could hear my clients talk about their transition after their first Reiki session, not just because of me, other Reiki practitioners, they are amazed. They're like, my whole life changed.
Mm.
So it's, even if just try it for the heck of it, you'll be totally different.
Yeah, I tend to always tell Stephanie, man, if I could get this kind of treatment at night, I'd probably sleep so well because
You
it's
would.
just it's extremely relaxing on the table,
It is.
especially
Yeah.
when, like you said, surrender to the work that's being done, and try not to hold resistance or fear or
Yes.
anything like that.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's also important, what you said about, reminding your clients that the work doesn't stop once you step foot out the door.
Mm-mm.
You need to continue self-care, and maybe there's things that some exercises that you need to, practice now, and just kind of stay focused on this self-healing. And the modality, this healing modality is just one aspect of what, their journey may require at this time. But then, don't hold yourself back from learning as much as you can, because I think it's the combination of it all too.
It is. Totally.
And
Yeah.
self-awareness, listen to your
Mhm.
body, listen to what it's saying. And, I now, some of my clients I've been seeing for 20, 25 years, um, actually a little longer, come to think of it, probably about close to 28 years, because I'm looking back on when I started doing this professionally, still seeing these people, after all this time. I mean, I don't see them as frequently because they know everything has shifted and changed, and they understand now what the work that needs to be done. But when it is table time, and they know when they need to come in, you
Yeah.
feel it. Your body will tell you, your guides will remind you, hey, it's time to go get your tune up. Give me anywhere, like a new client, I would recommend 6 to 8 weeks maybe for your follow up, and then thereafter, if you're doing the work, and I'll know when you come back,
Yeah.
because your guides will tell me, or I'll feel it when you get on the table. And I always talk to my clients too before they get on the table. And I have questions I need to ask, although I may
Mhm.
already know the answers. They need to hear it for themselves, but they'll learn to pay attention to their body, and they'll know that, oh, I'm starting to feel that heaviness again. I'm starting to feel
Mhm.
the confusion, and maybe my focus is off, and I just feel off. I don't
Yep.
know how to describe it. I just feel off. And that's usually the first signs that it's time to get in and, have a follow up. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It just means that
Right.
you're ready. It's time, because, like you said, there's multiple layers here. This
Hmm.
isn't just a one time deal. Like, there's layers and layers and layers to this. And just when you think you're done, I mean, I am seeing people, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, they're still peeling back layers.
Isn't
Hmm.
that the truth?
Myself
Nobody wants to
included.
hear it though. They don't
No,
want to hear it.
no, but you'll get out of it what you put into it. And I think if you
Yeah.
just learn to trust the process and don't force it along, and know that it has a life of its own, everything is going to move organically without
Yeah.
any push. That's a trust issue. We have to
Mhm.
trust, we have to let go. We're not in control as we like to think that we are. And then when we
Mhm.
realize that we're not, that presents a whole new set of problems. But then again, that also can be opening up maybe some deeper seated, areas that we need to explore. This could be some trigger points, and there may be some things going on there that we didn't recognize until those first few layers were removed. And now all of a sudden, oof, what is this? where did this come from?
Yep.
Well, we needed to dig a little bit, but here we are. So let's work through this. And that's what it is. It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's their soul's journey, and that's why I say your soul's journey is going to unpeel those the onion levels.
Mm-hmm.
I get people that come in maybe 2 years ago, and I know automatically. I'm like, oh my God, they're so not ready for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later, I'm like, oh my God, hey, how are you? You're ready
Mm-hmm.
now, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
It's
man, my
that's
life just
oh man, that's
hit, you know?
so weird that you just said that because my next question was going to be, has there ever been somebody that you've maybe had to turn away or that they've turned away or something
Yes.
like that? And so you just kind of answered that for me before I even got to ask the question. So some people walk in and they just feel it for themselves that they're not quite ready for it.
Absolutely. Or you have those that come in because they're going through a big shift that maybe it's a whatever it might be, and they're really processing their changes and they leave, they feel more relaxed, and they'll go through that. And again, I always check in on them. And I keep them in my newsletter and they follow me on Facebook or whatever the case may be. But I'll know intuitively, I can just feel that they're not ready to dig deep into that source or that pain. When they have stomach issues, right? That's the solar plexus. That's a lot of pent up emotion stuck there. I just intuitively know, but I always say, when you're ready to come back, but you have a lot of skeptics that come in. I have a lot of skeptics that come in. And I can automatically tell because as soon as they walk in, their energy hits me like a brick,
Mm.
right? And I say to spirit, okay, what are we doing with this today? You gotta, work with me. And I ask them questions. I'm very gentle about it. They're asked this, they don't believe it, they don't believe it. Now, I will say that a client that comes in and doesn't really get the whole concept of Reiki will and can block their energy. So they're not that they're not getting Reiki, they still will get it. It may not be to the extreme that they would normally will. And they'll say, yeah, no, I didn't feel anything. And I'm like, okay. And then 3 or 4 days later, they'll text me like, this is the really weirdest thing. My husband said, like, I'm different and like, I'm not as agitated. And it's so weird. Like, I was playing tennis better the other day. I'm like, well, hello, that's Reiki. Like, come on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But they had to see it. They were blindsided or so focused. And not to make you laugh, but I do make you laugh. Usually it's a Virgo energy. Like if they're I come in and they're like that, and I goes, are you a Virgo? And they're like, yes. How did you know? Or sometimes a Scorpio, right? Like that's why I ask them what their astrology sign is because it sort of helps me put it on the map where
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going with the session. But yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I said. We could just do a show on stories of clients, and
definitely, I'm in for that.
their the experiences, and the first thing as soon as I hear a new client, they'll reach out to me. They'll say, "You're never going to believe what happened," and I'm like, "Yes, I will." You're the one that needs to believe what just happened. I already believe it. So,
Yeah,
that this is their time now that things are going to start to shift and change again. People, places, and things will shift. But there is, there is resistance, sadly, sometimes, and I don't think people really mean to. I'm sure there's reasons that they'll come in and there may be some of that resistance there. And like you said, they're not allowing themselves to receive the full benefits. So what would you say to, say, a new client that's coming in and you're feeling that wall immediately? Their guard is up because I'm sure there's some fear there. They don't know what to expect. Maybe they're afraid that these changes are going to make things worse. I have a husband, by the way. I'm not a husband. I have a client whose husband actually says, I think you need to go see Stephanie, honey, here. And he'll
yeah.
he'll give her her phone to go ahead and
I have clients, husbands and wives that do that too.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
How do
I
I know?
laugh. But
I
yeah, so
mean,
what would you recommend for say there's a new client that wants to say I'm a new client and I want to come and see
yeah,
you and I'm listening to this show. And some of this like sounds very familiar, but I'm a little nervous because I don't really understand it. And but yet I want to receive all the wonderful benefits you're talking about. is there some maybe pre-work that I can do on myself before I come in that would help? Even though I'm not ready to get out of my way yet, but maybe can I get my body ready, my mind? How can I prep for a visit with you when maybe I'm struggling a little bit?
Usually, when people book their appointment with me, you know, I always send them an email. I explain to them, introduce who I am. I tell them a little bit about what's going to happen. I tell them to dress comfortably if there's any questions that they have beforehand, if there's anything I need to know. This way, they'll usually email me back, oh my God, thank you so much. That sort of opens the door for them to come in. Not everybody is going to be that receptive, and not everybody's going to come in and say or email me back or any of that. Communication
Mm-hmm.
is key for me. That's
Mm-hmm.
Gemini, and I'm ruled by Mercury. So communication is big and key for me to make sure those clients get what they want. As soon as they come in, we chat a little bit. Hey, how are you doing? We talk a little bit. Where are you from? Yada yada yada. Do you have, we talk a little bit about, and then that's when I go into what brought you to Reiki. And then they'll start, and sometimes they're very quiet, and I don't push them because it's their journey, not mine. And I'll say, do you understand what Reiki is? Well, kind of. And I bring out the chakras. I go through all of it. I explain. Any questions? I don't know. Maybe I do. Is there something I tell them what they could or may not experience? And I want them to understand fully that this is their intention when they're on that table is what they make it out. It's not me. I'm just the channeler. I do have a few people where I will use a weighted blanket just for that anxiety. There are things we can do as a practitioner to help them with that anxiety. Because
Mm-hmm.
here's really honestly what I say to them. I said, you don't know me. I don't know you. You're walking into this office coming in for Reiki. You have no clue. You can't see it. You can't smell it. You don't know what it's happening. So it's kind of weird. And they're
Mm-hmm.
like, it is kind of weird. And I'm like, well, that's why I want you to be comfortable. So having those techniques and the dim lighting and the quiet music, and I have clients that will want to talk through the whole thing. I do not talk through my session, but when they need to talk, that's their anxiety coming through. So I can tell by about the time I'm usually at their heart chakra, their body just you can just, it just shifts. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
so that's for me how I help. I've never had a client say, I can't do this. Never. So it's really easing that client. You're my new client. You're coming in. That's exactly what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to wait until you're comfortable. If it takes me an extra 20 minutes, I block my time accordingly because I know people have that. But I want you to walk out of that office and feel like that was the most amazing experience I've ever had and that I made you feel that way. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love the weighted blanket idea. I've
You
had
don't
one of those
realize how,
before.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you don't
No.
realize how many people come in with sensory issues.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
You guys work in different fields, but the sensory issue is huge these days, not just because of
I
autism.
have it. I have it myself.
Yes, right.
Sensory
And
issues.
so
Yes.
going into that sacred space, walking in there and first feeling, and sometimes people don't realize they have sensory issues. They
Hmm.
just have this anxiety. I have a client I was working with, the young girl, and I asked her, I was asking her different things with the sensory stuff. And I know who she is. She's a friend of mine's daughter, but I had her bring in her blanket every time she came in for a session or anything that was a squeezy toy
Hmm.
so that when she was on that table, she had that because it is a weird experience. And I'm telling you what, this kid has done amazing. So it's being aware of the sensory factors. And I guess because my grandson's autistic, I'm more attuned to that.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's very important. I mean, our world is sensory overload anyway,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For
right?
sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have this women's group that
Hmm.
you're very passionate about. So I want to transition now to that and kind of help. Let's kind of start off the same way of like why now hold a women's group when you have all of this on your plate? What
Everybody.
what is this passion that you have?
I want the woman to understand that she needs to pull her power in and be powerful for herself. She needs to understand that the stories that she tells herself was somebody else's stories. I'm very big on inner child healing, and I can channel and work through inner child work. I myself, growing up in a very dysfunctional family, like super dysfunctional. My mother's a paranoid schizophrenic and an alcoholic, and my father was the very strict Italian father who was there was no emotion. I
Mhm.
was the baby of six girls. We lost a sister. She was the oldest. And people say, "Have you always had your intuition? Have you always had this?" I think somewhere along the line, I probably always did, just didn't know what it was. But I always
Mm-hmm.
felt like I was divinely protected through all of that chaos. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you're constantly told that you're stupid or how dumb can you be, and getting yelled at and always having to walk on eggshells, and making sure you didn't piss your father off, never knowing if your mother was going to end up in a mental hospital, like that was my chaos in my family. So I had to be for me. And then I mentioned I was a young mom, at 16, and I just fell through what I like to call the acorn, and it grows into the oak tree. So that acorn is your belief system, right? It comes from when you were born, and everything that you get fed those first 5 years of your life, right? You just keep compounding it through the years. So that branch goes this way. Oh, I'm going to follow that group of people because that makes me feel comfortable. I'm safe. With that, I'm going to go that, right? And you start connecting with all of these people that are like like attracts like. So
Mm-hmm.
I went down that path of, drugs, and I went down that path of being in narcissistic relationships, and I went down that path of all of that stuff, right? So seeing how far I've come, and I put a lot of work into myself. It's my passion that let those women know, and not just women. I mean, I work with men too, but women are the force, or the women are the foundation in families, and
Mm-hmm.
they get so burned out, and they just like, feel like I'm not pretty enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not smart enough. And sometimes just having that, and my group, it's the Empowered Women's Journey. It's really an inspirational group now where I'm at. I'm working towards some things in, 2026 to incorporate more like one-on-ones, like my talk therapy, right? I call it teletalk, but it's it's looking at yourself in the mirror in the morning and saying, I really like who I am. It's okay that I made a mistake, and tail that little inner voice that keeps beating you up, the old saying with the devil and the angel on your shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
This is what I try to tell the women. And when you start talking to the women and they come from my monthly groups, or we're doing things online, or even our practitioners or my ladies, every single one of them have something to do with that inner child healing. All of them. And I always say, somebody told you a story and you believe that story. We need to change that story now, right? We need to change that story. It's not overnight. I've been doing this I'm 60
Yes.
now. I've been working this for over 30 years. So when you talk about a path of healing, people want it to be instant gratification. That's not how this works. So when they tell me, oh, I worked on that already, I look at them and I go, did you? Because I would almost venture to guess you didn't. So my passion is to get that woman to feel like that beautiful, sexy woman that she is, and 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 I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna make it happen. I'm gonna make them women walk out of that office and feel like, that they can take on whatever they need to take on, and be true to themselves. I think that's the key to this. We forget. We
Mm-hmm.
forget to be true to ourselves. And when that story comes in your head and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go for that job. I'm not qualified. Yes, you are. Stop
Mm-hmm.
defeating yourself. You've already just manifested that whole thing. That's not where you're at. And so that's really my Reiki, like I've said, is my foundation. And that's why Spirit put me where I'm at, in order for all these different layers to come up. And so now I feel like where they want me to go now is really making people in general aware of your own healing, because you can't heal for me, right? My husband couldn't heal me. I can't heal him. I can't heal my children. I can be a sounding board. You got to do the work.
Hmm.
Really got to do the work. So that's kind of where this empowered woman's journey over the last couple of years has just built up. There's
Mm.
like 480 women in the group. So that's a lot of women.
Wow. Yeah, that's an
And they're
extremely
from all
large
over.
group.
That is a large group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that something where um there's like a few on this week and then there's a few on next week?
No, what happens with this is it's a private Facebook group, and I post like a couple of times a day on that, right? But I always link them over to the my Balance Mind Body and Spirit my page, so they come follow me. My goal to do probably early spring is to start doing like a Zoom with them once a month, where it will be an
Mm.
open chat, it will be an open forum. Not everybody can get into the meeting at the building, which is fine. And working on little it might just be a topic one night. They could pop one, they could pop off. What's really weird about Zoom? A lot of women don't like to be on it. They'll hide their face. And I'm like, guys, nobody's here but us. Like, it's okay. You don't have to wear makeup. You don't have to do that stuff. It's that insecurity. It's that fear of being seen. And I
Yeah,
Mhm.
want them to get
exactly.
out of that. So sometimes doing a Facebook Live gives these women they 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 can be they can be heard but not seen. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's where my goal is moving to get more of these women in a conversation. Maybe we teach classes, maybe we work on inner child stuff, to the degree that I can do it, like that.
Sure.
Um,
And build their confidence up.
and build their confidence up,
Yeah, as they're healing. I
Yeah.
mean, you have done a lot of healing yourself,
Oh,
because if
tons.
you had to have, or you wouldn't be where you are today.
Nope.
And now it's your job, your responsibility to, light the way for others who it's their time to heal.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink,
Yeah.
right? And
True.
that's where a
True.
lot of therapists or a lot of coaches or a lot of people get frustrated when they're doing these things. My journey is not that I can't heal you. You've got to
Mhm.
do this, and that's what I tell them. And I'm pretty point blank sometimes with my clients. Like I don't pull any punches, and I say, you
Mm.
came here to learn, or you came here to heal. What are you afraid of?
Mhm.
But most of them don't want to look. They don't want to look inside. They don't want to feel that pain.
Right.
Um,
Well,
but
that's understandable. I
of
mean, who wants
course,
to feel pain, and you don't want to think about it and dwell on it, so you just kind of hide it away. But what we don't realize is all those little compartments that we've hit, we've packed away, and we don't open them because it's too painful. Well, over time, this is, what
going
do
to
you
blow
think is
up.
going to happen? And it starts to affect the way you look at yourself and others and your reality, and how you're coping and managing in life. And,
Mhm.
that's where the problems start to surface. And you're like, oh boy, I mean, people don't come to me because they're wonderful and they feel amazing and their life is grand. And that is not, if that was the case, I wouldn't have any work to do. But no, that's not the condition that
Right?
people come.
True
They
story.
feel broken, and they don't know what to do anymore. And a lot of them come in tears, or they'll sit down, and not even 5 minutes into, talking with them, they're already in tears. And they'll say that I feel this enormous amount of energy. I can't even describe this. I don't know what it is. I've never had it before. And so to me, that's, I'm cheering inside. Yay.
Yeah.
We're gonna make it. Here's one more that we're saving, and we're going to empower, and, they're going to build up that confidence and trust in themselves that they need. So I mean, I love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
I'm excited to see where this is going to go.
Me too.
There's a lot of people that I do feel need this, men and women. I don't want men to think that we're shunning them
Absolutely.
out of this,
Totally
because
agree.
they're just as damaged as the women are sometimes,
Mhm.
So,
Sometimes
and
worse.
yes, and fortunate, yeah, and it's a lot harder because it's a whole ego thing, and that's all for another show. But,
Yep.
um, I have a lot of male clients and now friends all through the years. So men, if you hear us out there, don't think that you're excluded. This isn't just for women. I think although women, they tend to handle this a little bit easier than I think men do,
The
because
nurturer.
maybe,
The
yes,
nurturer, yeah.
yes. And then and then men are raised differently too. And depending on the family dynamic, we just don't know. And maybe they don't even know until you bring it to their attention. So, a lot goes into this. We're not just on here saying, oh, well, you should try this because it's going to make your life a whole lot better. We don't know that. We don't know any of that because we're not in charge. We've learned that lesson along the way, that it's not about us. We are the conduits, we're the facilitators, and we're just there to hold the space so they're able to, connect to and tap into their higher self and begin their own path of healing. And, there's so much to explore once you trust in that. But men and women. So again, I don't want men to think they're excluded from this. We
Right.
welcome you.
Right. And it's ego on both sides.
Oh.
And what is beautiful is there's men rising up to help support men, which
more and more
I think is so valuable. But I do want to go back to what you said, Michele, about how you notice that some of these women have a very hard time about being on camera. And I can even say that I've come across that personally, just say, with someone that I might know on, having a FaceTime talk or something like that. And I was in the realm of acting. And so you would think that some of us were more comfortable than, say, the average person being on camera because that was our job. But then here in regular life, it'd be like, oh, I don't like looking at myself on camera.
Yeah.
And the first time that I came across it, it kind of shocked me. But then I kind of had to look at myself because that was a big hindrance to my own career. Was I could do it when being called to on a set, but to come and like launch some things here on social media, I created immense anxiety inside of myself. And so I'm here doing the podcast now because I've done the work to be able, to be seen and to be heard. And it doesn't mean that it's easy. But, I'm showing up for myself. And I love that you recognize that in other women, and that a part of your goal is to get them to where they're ready to be seen in any moment that supports them, their soul, really, and their work here. So I love that. Now, we're getting a little closer to the end of the episode, and I do want to talk a little bit about your Talk Tuesdays. I know you talk about a couple different things, what you're feeling. So let's give the listener a little bit of an idea of what they might be in for if they tune into one of those episodes.
Oh, you have no clue. Every Tuesday, I'm live on Facebook. Unless like I'm sick or something like that, 8 o'clock. Each week or each month, there's a theme. It's usually, I always incorporate energy, whatever's going on energetically. I incorporate astrology. Right now, the month of January has been a lot about the shifts and the changes that have been happening in the beginning of the year. Like I talk a lot about the astrology with the well, we're going into the year of the horse, shedding the skin. It's spirit's been, how do I want to put this? They've been making me shift it where for the whole month there's themes that are going on. I'm giving them journal prompts. I'm giving them all these kind of things. And spirit will usually just intervene a lot of times and just channel through me, and there'll be something that comes up. So basically, Talk Tuesday is a little bit of everything. Like tomorrow night, I should know what it's going to be, but I don't have it in front of me now. But it's just okay. It's basically what's happening is everybody's trying to figure out what the hell's going on in our world. And because we're in such this uproar and because we're going through so many changes, the last 4 years that I've been doing this Talk Tuesday, It started with just like simple things like what are crystals? What are the angels? Let's talk about tarot cards. Let's talk about, it was just just simple things. Sometimes I would just open up the night and just talk. But then we rolled in through December, and I felt like there was a shift going on, and some people really needed to know what was going on with our world because they're like, I don't feel good. This is shifting, that shifting. So, Talk Tuesday is a little bit of everything. It's astrology, it's energy healing, it's working on your inner child, it's guidance, it's a little Reiki, it's a little talking, it's a little cards, it's a little bit of everything. If you just join, you can pop on and be like, "Oh, hey, I'm brand new." Um, and a lot of people will come on, but they'll go back and they'll watch the recording later. So, but that's really what it is. Talk Tuesday is a little bit of everything that comes from my heart, and that I feel like needs to get out there for people. And it helps them because I'll get people that'll text me. I'll get people that'll shoot me an email. They'll write me back like private message, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, I needed to see that tonight. You had a message." I'm like, they gave me the message. I don't know, but I'm glad it resonated with you. And I'm myself. See, I think when you're on, you know, what people like to see is you're truthful and honest. Everybody who follows me knows my story, right? And we all have one, and that makes me personal. Like, and we joke. Like I joke with people when they're on there. So yes, for anybody that's interested, every Tuesday night I'm on live on Facebook. So I think you guys are going to share the link on that at the end of this video. But I would love to have you guys. That's
Yes.
Talk Tuesday is.
Yes, we will definitely share that for you below. And also, if anybody that's listening, that's not seeing it on our YouTube channel, that's maybe listening over a podcast, where where could they find you online?
It'll just, well, Facebook. My Facebook's big. I do Instagram. I'm not a lot on Instagram. I'm starting TikTok. I did share some of those links with you guys, but really, if you're looking for me, you're going to find me on Facebook, or you can go to my website, which I think I gave you my link to the website. If you guys are looking and you're in this King of Prussia, Pennsylvania kind of area, Montgomery County, obviously, if you go onto the website and you want to book a session, all of that's on there. But to find anything that's happening, whether I'm doing events online, whether I'm doing classes, it's usually, well, it's on my website, but it's usually under events on my Facebook page. And I share it like constantly with all of the local chapters. But, you know, if you are, and I'll just put this out there, when I talked a minute ago about my talk therapy, which is called teletalk, that is through Zoom. That is basically an hour of intuition, channeling, and just an unbiased ear, really. And all that is on my website. So a lot of people can't get into the office. But yeah,
Right.
they'll find me on Facebook.
All right. And that website is balancedmindbodyandspirit.com.
Yes.
And like we said, we will put all of those links below if you are watching our video on YouTube.
Love it.
And we'll have you on again. I'd love to talk more about the
Talk about
other
just
the other
stuff.
topics that we very lightly touched upon. And it was a joyful conversation. It's been wonderful getting to know you and hear all the work that you're doing out in the world. So thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Yes, thanks, Michelle. It's been great.
Thank
Yeah.
you, ladies. I'm looking forward to working a little bit more with you down the road.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, everyone. We want to thank you for tuning in to an episode of the Sleeping Lotus podcast. Please check us again for another episode. We do air weekly, and just stay tuned because we have some really great guests coming up.
Yep. And
All
don't
right.
forget to like, share, and subscribe.
That is right, Stephanie. I nearly forgot to remind you. So good job. All right, everyone. Thank you
night.
again, and we will see you
night.
next time. Good night.